So who are you really doing? Because not me.
I know the influence, I know the impact, and I know the vibes. And the girlies love the vibes. And that's just what it's about.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chinny. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about some hard truths that I've learned as I've lived my life. Okay, I'm turning 28 next month. And as I said it, Anyway, I'm turning 28 next month, guys. One of my favorite things to do is to always write down the things that I learned because I forget very easily. So I'm always making notes on my phone. And I've been able to compile a list of some hard truths that I've learned in my 20s, through life, for myself, from other people. So I hope that you guys stick to the end of this video and I hope that you enjoy. I'll see you in the video. Heads up, I'm sitting on my balcony because this is the place in my house that brings me peace. So that's what we're gonna do. I apologize for any noises you guys may hear. Nigeria is just a loud country in general. I don't really know. Hard truth number one: boundaries are an act of relationship preservation. And obviously, as I go on, I'll explain each thing that I say so that obviously it makes sense. But I honestly believe that the act of enforcing a boundary is you communicating that you love the person enough to continue having a relationship with them. When you're on the receiving end of someone enforcing a boundary, it has a way of making you feel like rejected, or feel like the person doesn't want you, or the person doesn't like you enough, or the person like is trying to low-key get rid of you. And if you're anything like me and you struggle with rejection and you just in general like struggle to tell when people want you in their lives versus when they're trying to get rid of you. I mean, no one likes rejection, but I feel like some of us really don't like rejection and try our best to remove ourselves from any situation where we might feel rejected. So understanding people's boundaries might be a bit difficult. But I will say this, and I've said this to my friends in the past whenever I've had to instill a boundary: if I didn't like you, I wouldn't instill the boundary. If I didn't want you in my life anymore, if I wasn't trying to preserve the relationship, if I didn't want anything to do with you, I wouldn't enforce a boundary. I would just remove you from my life, or I would just give you your space. The mere act of someone enforcing a boundary with you is them trying to tell you that they still want a relationship with you. And this boundary is necessary for them to be able to have that relationship with you. So instead of taking people's boundaries as a sign that they don't want you, or taking it personally, or making it about yourself, see it as them basically saying, because I want you in my life, I need this amount of space between you and I when it comes to this particular thing. I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder and it looks like I'm on a tropical vacation. And so you hear the noise in the back, that's when you remember that, no, we're in Nigeria. Wow, I didn't do my edges. That's wow. The second thing on my list is not everything that ended wasn't for you. And I feel like this one low-key is directed at certain people, because there's this narrative I'm always seeing on social media, especially on Twitter, where it's like, if it ended, it wasn't for you. If you lost it, it wasn't yours to begin with. What's yours can never be lost, or things along that line. I don't know. That's not true. It's definitely not true. Sometimes it was meant for you and you were not responsible with it, so you lost it. It's perfectly okay to say, I messed up, I ruined this thing, I was not responsible with this thing that God gave me, I didn't handle it well, I wasn't a good steward, I could have handled that better. You grow from those instances and God gives you more things to handle, and He gives you other opportunities to show that you're growing and that you're developing. But you see that attitude of like, oh, if I lost it, it was never mine to begin with, is not true. When it comes to people, work things, jobs, whatever the case may be, that thing is not true. Sometimes you are not being a good steward. I feel like one of the issues with this generation is that we're constantly trying to absolve ourselves of responsibility. We're always finding someone else to blame. So it's always like, yeah, if this wasn't for me, somebody else's problem. Please, learn to say, I could have handled that better. Father, forgive me, when you're talking to God. Or you say, you know what? give me another chance and I'll do better. But you see this attitude of like, if it stresses me, it's not my own. If this one, it wasn't for me. That is just, it's a very lazy attitude towards life. And I feel like it's a very lazy way of looking at the responsibilities that God has given you. Number 3 is when you're too open with people too quickly, you risk having them judge you before they know you. And this is something that I struggle with personally. I'm always very like, once I decide I like somebody, I feel like my sense of timing and boundaries sometimes gets very bad, and I'm actively working on it, because I feel like when you're too open with people, you're not giving them an opportunity to really learn you. You're out here telling someone your deepest, darkest secrets from 50 years ago, and they met you 2 minutes ago. I remember one time when I met this girl, and she was really sweet and I really liked her and everything, but in the space of knowing her in like 2 hours, I could write this girl's biography. Like, I could literally tell you about her whole entire life. And I don't think that I should have had access to her on that level. I don't think I deserved to know her like that. So when it comes to letting people in, as someone who strongly believes that people are important and you should develop relationships with people, timing is also important. And the how of developing relationships with people is also very important. Next one, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you, babes. No one is coming to save you from your bad habits and your self-destructive tendencies. It's all gonna be on you. As someone who used to have very nasty self-destructive tendencies, I don't know why, but I someday just clicked in my head that I'm low-key waiting for someone to come and deliver me from myself, and that's so unrealistic and it's not going to happen. Speaking of people not saving you, no one is coming to save you from your limiting beliefs and your fears. That's a tough pill to swallow even for me, because for me, I like to I feel like for the longest time I used to always think that like one day someone was gonna come and save the day and just remove all my stress and all my problems and all these things I was afraid of and all these things that were limiting me and holding me back, that I've just kind of accepted as a part of my life. Someone was gonna come and take that away from me. Again, not true. Next one, how you say something can be the determinant between whether someone is listening to you or not. This one specifically goes out to the Christian community, my holy brothers and sisters, whom I love so dearly with the love of Christ. Some of you are rude. You're so rude that the message you're passing along is very important, but the people you're passing that message to, they're not hearing you. Because you've said it in such a way that now all they're thinking about is how to defend themselves from you because you're coming at them. I saw this TikTok and this girl was talking about 20'S. She was talking about like this 20'S new song that she just dropped, and whether or not 20'S is Christian or whatnot. 20'S had said that she dropped the song as a way, it was supposed to be speaking about her relationship with God. Now, even me, I was like, shout out to 20'S and everything. Whether that is true or not, whether the visuals in 20'S's music video was correct or not, is not the problem. The problem is the way that this girl chose to communicate what she was trying to say. She was trying to hold people accountable for the kind of music they listen to and basically just say that it matters. Like, you can't just be listening to any and everything. These things matter and they affect your spirit. But guy, the way she was coming at people, even me, that I'm careful with the things I listen to, I was like, am I being why are you attacking me? Like, what did I ever do to you? So the way you talk to people matters though, especially when you have a very important message to pass along, especially if that message came from God, especially if you know that the people that you're talking to need the message that you're giving them. They need your help. The way you're saying it is now making them focus on the way you're making them feel instead of the message you're trying to pass across. Guy. That being said, I believe that you should take everything, whether it's a compliment, whether it's an insult, with a grain of salt. Human beings are very fickle. Like, they hardly even know how they feel about certain things. So when you hold too strongly the way that people feel about you, you're just damaging yourself. Someone can be praising you today and orchestrating your downfall tomorrow. We see it in social media every single day. When you see a celebrity that everybody's obsessed with, then all of a sudden the next day everybody's coming for them and everyone's angry, and it's like, if you support this person, you're a problem and whatnot. These things are important. You can't hold too strongly how people feel about you. because it's to change. Tomorrow, those same people who are all about you, they won't care anymore. So what's the point? So this one I feel very strongly about, and I feel like I want to even be looking at you as I'm saying this. You don't get rewarded for dimming your light so that you don't intimidate other people. Sometimes, over-sabi is important. It's important to be the person that they think is doing too much, because that's how you're going to get from point A to point B. But here you are, reducing who you are, reducing everything God has said you should do and everything God has said you should be, because you don't want to stress someone else out, because you don't want to make someone else feel bad about themselves. But what about what God has put in you? This is a message that I'm still today trying to come to terms with, because I'm very good at like doing like this and reducing myself so that the people around me will feel less bothered by me. Do you get? I remember when I was in uni and then people would be like, this baby's doing too much. When I first came, I came in the middle of a semester and we were about to write exams. I was so scared I was gonna fail, and I remember I was just praying to God that God would help me so I don't fail. And somehow it was bothering other people that I was going out of my way to make sure that I was getting everything done on time. And I started to like pull back a little bit and talk less, interact less, and all these things to make other people feel good about themselves. And I remember one day just asking myself, like, how dumb is that? Who's going to reward you? So now you keep doing this and then you don't get what you need, or you don't get what you want, or you don't get what you're after. How does that help you? What have you gained from that whole situation? Nothing. Next one, being self-aware can easily make you hard to correct. Self-awareness is a great thing, but like, do it with sense. Because if you're someone who thinks that they're very self-aware, you can easily become that person that doesn't learn anything new about themselves. And I'm saying this as someone who feels like she's fairly self-aware. I feel like I'm very honest with myself about who I am. I might not tell you, but I'm going to tell myself. Okay? And I'm very good at holding myself accountable for my actions. That's why I don't have a problem apologizing to people. That's why I don't have a problem saying, listen, I messed up. This is where I went wrong. I can do that very easily. But if I'm not careful, I can become that person who never learns and never grows because I think I already know. Next one. I don't know what number we're on right now, but yeah, I'm moving a lot quicker in this makeup than I anticipated that I would. So I feel like you need people. Like, you need people though. You need people. I don't know what you believe about God, but me, I believe in God, and I believe that He's all powerful. I believe that He's all knowing. I feel like if God wanted to, He's perfectly capable of creating a world where we are complete individuals in this world. So I live on my own. This person lives on their own. That person. We didn't have to have families. We didn't have to have communities. We didn't have to have groups of people. If God wanted to, it could have just been me by myself. So the whole idea of being hyper-individual or hyper-individualistic is a dangerous one. You actually need people. I also feel like there's wisdom in this. There's definitely going too far. There's definitely doing too much. And I think that takes me to my next point, which is that if you give people the power to make you, I feel like you're also giving them the power to break you. So there's definitely wisdom when it comes to how much you need people, how much you depend on people, how much you allow people to affect your life. Because when you allow someone to speak into your life, you're giving them power over certain things. But like I said in the last point, you definitely need people, but that doesn't mean you give people the power over your life. And definitely not power over what God has already said to you. Like, what a human being says should never supersede what God said, because that's really wild. This kind of goes with my last point where I was talking about how if you have a point to make, we're talking about how you say it and how that matters and, you know, can affect whether or not people are listening to you. I think also with that, the fact that you don't like the way someone said something doesn't mean that they're lying. Doesn't mean they're not telling the truth. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means you don't like the way they said it. So you should know the difference between you being offended by how someone said something and you being offended by what they said. Also, you being offended by what they said doesn't necessarily mean that what they said is wrong. These are things, and this is the reason why these are hard truths, because it's not fun to hear, but it's the truth. The fact that it offended you doesn't mean it was blatantly wrong, just means you didn't like it. Next point, if you look hard enough, you will always find someone to validate your point. I think I learned this one from a while back on Twitter. I noticed that there's like a certain group of people that always had things to say, and they would come with like scriptures to back what they were saying, and it seemed like whatever they were saying was true, especially because they could prove it biblically, quote unquote. And so everyone was like, yeah, they must be telling the truth. They weren't. I just feel like if you look hard enough and what you're looking for is not the truth but validation, you're going to find it. There's always going to be something to validate your point of view. Now, whether or not that thing that's validating you is right is the question. So the more important question to ask is not who's agreeing with you, but rather what is God saying? What does God say about a certain matter? That's how you know if you're going in the right direction or not. Sometimes the pain of walking away is a necessary evil. And this is something that I personally struggle with a lot. I'm not good at walking away. I'm not good at like saying, okay, I've had enough, I'm done. Because something in my brain processes that as giving up on people. And I don't like giving up on people because I don't like to feel like someone gave up on me. But listen, there are instances where you have to walk away. You have to walk away to protect yourself, to protect your well-being. Walking away is a necessary evil. You might even look like the bad guy in the story, but you need to walk away to protect yourself. This one I take personally. You don't need permission from people who know who you are today to become who you want to be tomorrow. And I guess a different way of saying this would be like, you don't need other people's permission to change. You don't have to be the same person you used to be. You can completely do a 180 and flip. And you don't have to prove why to anybody. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to make anyone feel okay with it. And with that as well, stay away from people who wake up sleeping demons. Stay away from people who insist on reminding you about who you were and almost feel like they're depriving you of the option or the opportunity to be a different person. Those people don't like you. I feel like I've had different stages in my life where I've been different people to different people, and I've acted differently, and I believe different things, and I've said different things. And every day I kind of wake up and I hold myself accountable for my actions, and I say to myself, who do I want to be today? Can I change who I was yesterday? Was that really the best way I want to show up? Do I want to change that? Is there anything different that I would do? Anybody who comes to me and says to me, nah, but are you not the same person that used to do A, B, I don't want to hear it. Your bad vibes, be going. Now, this is not the same as like denying accountability. Please, let's get that straight. If you are someone who has an issue with people holding you accountable, that I'm not making excuses for you. You need to learn to be accountable for your actions. But I do believe that you're allowed to change. You're allowed to completely decide that you want to be someone different, think differently, whatever the case may be. Therapy doesn't count if you lie to your therapist. It doesn't count because the person that is helping you based on lies that you told them. So who are you really doing? Because not me. I've definitely seen people who have gone to therapy, and also therapy is not an excuse to be a bad person. Because some of you people, you come out of therapy with all these things that your therapist said. My therapist said, but you're like not being a good person. Matter of fact, I want to meet your therapist because, are you sure she said that? She gave you that advice and you took it? If all you do is play the victim in every situation, you really stop yourself from moving from point A to point B. That's my whole point. So if you're getting help, be honest with yourself as you're getting the help. Therapy is only going to work if you are going to do the work. If you cannot be honest with yourself, therapy is just you paying someone to listen to you talk. And maybe you like it like that. Next one, you're not the only one deserving of God's love. The fact that you're angry with someone doesn't mean that God is angry with them. The fact that you hate someone doesn't mean that God hates that person. Sometimes God is removing you from someone's life to protect them from you. And it's not always the other way around. It's not always God loves me so much, He removed me from their life so that they are bad vibes. No, sometimes you're the problem. And that's okay. It's actually okay. It only becomes not okay if you won't admit to yourself that sometimes you're the problem. Do you get what I'm saying? So Sometimes God really will remove you from someone's life because he's trying to protect them. Because you don't want to learn certain things, or you have certain character traits that are negative and are hurting his children. Because surprise, you're not his only child. You're not an only child. God has other children. He loves all other children as well. It's not just you, babes. I'm just going to try and set my face. I'm using the Zickel Studio Fix High Definition Matte Press Powder. I've dropped this powder so many times. Next point, some people don't have space in their lives for you, and that's okay. I think that one of the best things you can ever do for yourself is to be honest with yourself about what position you occupy in someone's life. Like, tell yourself the truth about how someone views you and accept it for what it is. This one goes to you people that are in relationships. Never felt that, never smelt that, never seen that.
Never felt that, never heard that, never tasted that, never smelled that.
Run away from people that make you feel the need to protect yourself from them. And I'm gonna give a very direct example of this. I used to talk to this guy, and during the period when I was talking to him, I found that in every conversation we had, I always felt like I was on the defensive. I felt like I was trying to defend myself. I was protecting myself. I didn't feel peace. I didn't feel at ease to be myself around him. I just kind of always felt like I needed to do like this. Do you get? And that is crazy. So I learned that people who make you feel like you need to protect yourself from them are not for you, because something about you doesn't feel safe around them. The people you allow in your space should, deserve to be in your space. And they deserve to be in your space because they've created space for you in their space. Does that make sense? I think so. I'm pretty much done with my makeup, and I'm also pretty much done with my list. So I'm just gonna kind of wrap up. Me, I'll make concealer on the lips and then lip gloss, kind of girly. I have 2 points left, and then we're done. I feel like I timed that really nicely in terms of my makeup. I'm so proud of myself. This is like my everyday, I'm not really doing much, but I'm gonna be in front of people type makeup. Most of what makes you unhappy comes from a desire to control outcomes. The desire to control people and control outcomes and control attitudes towards you is a very dangerous one, because you're never going to be satisfied when you always feel the need to somehow have a say in how people behave, how people act, what people do. It's just, you're just asking for disappointment at that point. I feel like Stoicism is a very good practice to try and incorporate into your life. Try to focus on what you can control, put your energy into what you can change, because the desire to be controlling in situations is what makes you feel like situations are not working out properly. Learn to leave things for God. I know we say it all the time. It's all over social media. Leave it for God. Handle what you can. Leave the rest to God. But people don't actually do that, because if you did, you'd be a lot happier in your life. Because you're putting all your energy to focus on what you can control and actually leaving the rest for God. It's crazy how I just did my edges now and they're already out. These lip gloss has suffered because I don't like lip glosses with the wand. I like them, but they get dirty because this was clear when I first got it. This is all makeup in here. Okay guys, so I'm pretty much done, and I'm gonna try and end on a good note. So for the last point, I'll definitely say that your story dictates your timeline. You are not on the same timeline as everybody else. You are not living the same life as everybody else. The problem with comparison is that comparison requires that the two things that are being compared are designed to be the same. They're supposed to be the same. They're meant to be the same. So that would mean that you and I are meant to be the exact same. And that's not how God is. That's not what God did when he made human beings. So you need to understand that you're not moving according to anyone else's pace. People accomplishing things before you is not an indicator that you're behind. It's not an indicator that you're late. It's an indicator that you're on a different schedule. Comparison is stealing your joy, because you're out here thinking that you should be doing what this person is doing, and you're calling yourself a late bloomer and all of those things. But you're not. You're just on a different schedule. So learn to turn to God when it comes to the how and the when and the why and the what time. If you would focus on God for those things, you would feel a lot less unaccomplished, is that a word? You would feel a lot more correct in the way that you're handling things, in the timeline of your life, because you're not meant to do things the way other people are doing them. So you learn and you grow and you change and you move, but you move according to the pace that God has set. Not that person you saw on the internet that showed you literally 5 seconds of their lives. Not anyone else, just you and God. If it can be you and God, you're good. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I really appreciate you. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all of those really cool things. Let me know what you think about this setup. I want to be outside because there's breeze, because I like the nature. I like the fact that I can hear the birds, but I'm not so sure about the noise, so you guys have to be the ones to tell me. From the viewfinder, it looks good. I can see that it's struggling to focus small. Well done. I'm here. Thank you. But yeah, I really hope you guys like this video. Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section and throw down your own hard truths that you guys have learned from your life. Bye.